This 1879 portrait looked like a joyful reunion until experts discovered something disturbing about the enslaved girl. Dr. Amanda Chen stared at the oil painting on her computer screen at the Smithsonian Conservation Lab in Washington, D.C. It was May 2024, and she had been studying 19th-century American portraits for months as part of a project documenting post-Civil War art. The painting unsettled her. The work, dated 1879, showed two young women, probably around 18 or 19 years old, sitting close together in a garden. One woman was white, wearing an elaborate blue silk dress, her blonde hair neatly styled. The other was black, dressed in a simpler brown gown, her dark hair pulled back carefully. What caught Amanda's attention was how they were positioned. They sat side by side on a stone bench, their shoulders nearly touching, both smiling naturally. It was rare. Paintings from that era seldom showed black and white subjects with such closeness and equality. The portrait had been donated by the Whitfield family of Charleston, South Carolina. A small brass plate read, "Margaret and Clara, 1879. The donation note said, "This portrait was found in our grandmother's attic in 1956. Margaret Whitfield was our ancestor. The identity of Clara is unknown. The painting had been stored away for decades." Stored away? Amanda thought. That phrase lingered in her mind. She began the usual conservation tests using X-radiography to examine the layers of paint. When the X-ray appeared, Amanda's breath froze. Hidden beneath the paint were shapes around the black woman's wrists and ankles, heavy, unmistakable shapes of iron shackles, deliberately painted over. Amanda leaned back, heart racing. This was not just a portrait of two friends. Beneath the surface were signs of slavery, carefully concealed. Why would an artist paint shackles and then cover them? What was the connection between these women? And why had this painting been hidden for so long? Amanda called Dr. Evelyn Washington, a historian specializing in slavery-era artifacts. "I found something extraordinary," Amanda said. "A painting from 1879 showing two friends, but X-rays reveal shackles hidden under the paint. I need to know who these women were." Evelyn paused for a moment. "Send me all the materials. If there's a story here, we will uncover it." Amanda started collecting files, sensing she was about to reveal truths that someone had tried hard to erase. 2 days later, Evelyn arrived with folders on the Whitfield family. They met in Amanda's lab, where the painting hung, looking calm and innocent. "Show me what you discovered," Evelyn said. Amanda displayed the X-rays. "Look closely at Clara's wrists and ankles. The artist painted heavy iron shackles, then covered them with layers of paint. It took a lot of effort to hide them this well." Evelyn leaned in, her face growing serious. "So Clara was originally shown in chains next to Margaret. Then someone painted over them to make them seem equal." "Exactly, but why?" Evelyn opened her folder. The Whitfields were wealthy Charleston plantation owners before the Civil War. They had over 200 enslaved people. Margaret Whitfield was born in 1860, making her 19 in 1879. Clara's name did not appear in official Whitfield records, but Evelyn found a record from 1860. A girl named Clara was born to an enslaved woman, Ruth, and assigned to house duties. Amanda's chest tightened. So Clara was born the same year as Margaret on the same plantation. Yes. Enslaved children were often made companions to white children. They played together when young, though the relationship became unequal as they grew older. Evelyn explained that by 1879, Clara would have been legally free. But Reconstruction was failing and Jim Crow laws were rising. Many black women had little choice but to continue working for families that once enslaved them. Amanda looked at the painting again. Two women who grew up together, one as the master's daughter, one as enslaved property. By 1879, slavery had ended, but the shackles were still hidden under the paint. "We need to know why this portrait was made in 1879, Evelyn said. Over the next week, they dug into records. Margaret married in 1881 and died in 1943. Clara's life was harder to trace, with only scattered city directory mentions as a domestic worker. No marriage record, nothing clear after 1885. Then Amanda found a letter behind the frame, dated June 1879. Dearest Clara, I know this is forbidden. My parents would be angry, but I cannot bear that we will soon be separated. You are my oldest friend. Though the world says we are not equal, my heart knows differently. Let this painting keep our friendship alive. They sat in silence. They had this painted in secret, Amanda said, to preserve their friendship. But the shackles, Evelyn whispered. Why show Clara in chains? That's the question we need to answer. Amanda inspected the canvas carefully and discovered tiny letters hidden in the painted tree bark, TW 1879. Evelyn searched Charleston records and found Thomas Wright, a portrait painter with a studio on King Street from 1872 to 1884. The 1870 census listed Wright as mulatto, a free person of color serving both black and white clients. This changes everything, Evelyn said. As a black man, Wright understood the complexities. He knew what it meant for Margaret and Clara to sit together like this. Amanda studied the x-rays again. Wright had painted Clara in shackles on purpose. He was making a statement. Yes, Evelyn said. On the surface it shows two friends, but beneath it, it tells the truth. Clara was still bound, not by chains, but by society, economy, and law. They found a 1876 advertisement for Wright, T. Wright, portrait artist, clients of all backgrounds welcome. It showed he would paint black subjects with the same dignity as white subjects. Then, Evelyn found an August 1879 newspaper article. Local artist Thomas Wright had left Charleston for Philadelphia, seeking better opportunities in the North. Conditions had become unbearable for black artists in Charleston. Wright left right after finishing this portrait, Amanda said. Not a coincidence. Evelyn nodded. Wright had painted something risky. Margaret and Clara wanted a friendship memorial, but Wright made it more. A critique, a truth that powerful people wouldn't want exposed. And then he had to leave. Amanda continued. We need to understand why this painting stayed hidden for decades, who hid it and why. The answer would be more heartbreaking than they had imagined. The portrait wasn't just a friendship memorial. It was proof of a tragedy the Whitfield family had worked hard to erase. Now, 145 years later, that tragedy would finally come to light. Evelyn realized that understanding this painting meant finding Clara's own words, letters, diary entries, anything showing her side of the story. She contacted the Avery Research Center in Charleston, which focused on African American history. Their archivist, Marcus, was intrigued and began searching their collections. 3 weeks later, Marcus called with news. We found something extraordinary. A collection of letters from formerly enslaved women, donated in the 1930s by a black church. Among them are several letters written by a Clara, dated 1877 to 1880. Evelyn flew to Charleston immediately. The letters were delicate, written carefully on cheap paper, the only kind Clara could afford. One letter, dated May 1879, was addressed to Margaret. Dear Margaret, I got your message about the portrait. I don't know if this is wise. Your parents would be angry if they found we are still meeting in secret. But my heart leaps at the thought of sitting beside you as we did as children, before the world taught us we were meant to be separate. I will come. I will sit beside you one last time. Perhaps the painting will show that what we feel is real, even if no one else understands. Your friend always, Clara. Evelyn's hands shook as she read it. This confirmed that Margaret and Clara had secretly arranged the portrait, against Margaret's parents' wishes. Another letter, dated July 1879 after the painting was finished, revealed something darker. Dear Margaret, I cannot see you anymore. Your father discovered our portrait. He came where I work, threatened me, said terrible things. He says if I ever approach you again, I will be arrested, perhaps worse. I know you tried to protect me, but we were foolish to think we could preserve our friendship. The world will not allow it. Please do not try to find me. I must disappear for both our sakes. Remember me kindly, Clara. Evelyn felt sick. Richard Whitfield had discovered the portrait and forced Clara away. She found one final, undated letter, written in shakier handwriting. To whoever finds this, my name is Clara. I was born enslaved on the Whitfield plantation in 1860. Margaret Whitfield was my friend from childhood. We grew up together, played together, shared secrets. When slavery ended, I hoped life would be different. But freedom is not freedom when poverty, laws, and people still treat you as property. Margaret tried to be my friend, tried to preserve our bond through a portrait, but her father destroyed that dream. I left Charleston because I had no choice. I write this so someone will know I existed, that my friendship with Margaret was real, that I was more than what they tried to make me. Clara. These letters changed everything. This wasn't just a hidden portrait. It was about two young women whose childhood friendship had been destroyed by racism, a father who wouldn't allow it, and a world that enforced inequality. Evelyn shared the letters with Amanda, who sat in silence. "The shackles in the painting," Amanda said quietly. Wright painted them because Clara was still shackled, not by chains but by poverty, Jim Crow, by men like Richard Whitfield who would intimidate and threaten to enforce racial hierarchy. And Margaret knew it, Evelyn added. That's why she hid the painting. She couldn't show it publicly, but she couldn't destroy it either. It was all she had left of Clara. To understand what happened when Richard Whitfield discovered the portrait, Evelyn looked for his personal papers. The South Carolina Historical Society had the Whitfield family collection, including letters from the 1870s. She found one from Richard to his wife, Catherine, in July 1879. "I have found something deeply troubling. Margaret commissioned a portrait without our knowledge, showing herself next to that Negro girl Clara who worked here. They are shown as equals. The artist, some mulatto from King Street, has created an abomination. I have handled the situation. Clara has been warned. The artist has left Charleston. The portrait must be destroyed." But it hadn't been destroyed. Evelyn found the answer in Catherine Whitfield's diary from August 1879. "Richard demands I destroy Margaret's portrait. He says it is disgraceful, showing improper affection between our daughter and a Negro, but I cannot do it. I watched Margaret and Clara grow up together. They were like sisters. I know the world says it is wrong, but they were children, innocent of the divisions adults made. Margaret has been heartbroken since Clara left. This portrait is all she has. I have hidden it in the attic. Perhaps someday it will be understood as a testament to a friendship society would not allow." Catherine had preserved the painting. Despite her husband's orders and social pressure, she saved it. Amanda shared, even someone complicit in slavery couldn't destroy it. "What happened to Margaret after Clara left?" Amanda asked. Evelyn had the answer. Margaret married in 1881, had 3 children, lived a conventional life. Her granddaughter's memoir, published in 1965, explained, "Grandmother Margaret was melancholy, often distant. She kept a locked drawer no one could open. After her death, we found letters from Clara and a small portrait of them together. Mother burned both, saying they were improper. So Margaret kept Clara's letters all her life," Amanda said softly. "Hidden, locked away, but treasured." The story grew clearer and more tragic. 2 friends torn apart by racism, one forced into disappearance, the other into a conventional life while mourning secretly. But what happened to Clara after leaving Charleston? That was still unknown. Tracing her movements was difficult. She vanished from Charleston records, likely intentionally, because Richard Whitfield's threats forced her to leave entirely. Evelyn contacted genealogists focused on African American family histories in the South. If Clara moved to another city, there might be employment records, church registrations, census entries. Weeks later, they found a lead. Census records in Augusta, Georgia, 1880, listed a Clara, black female, age 20, unmarried, working. Not proof, but the age fit, and Augusta was reachable from Charleston. Evelyn searched church and city records. At Springfield Baptist Church, she found her. Clara, member since 1879, former Charleston resident. Church archives included an 1880 membership interview. When asked why she came to Augusta, Clara said, "I left Charleston to escape a dangerous situation. I want to build a new life here." Clara worked as a laundress for 6 years in Augusta, lived in a boarding house for single black women, attended church, helped mutual aid societies. In 1885, she married Samuel, a carpenter, also from Augusta. Census records trace them. 1890, 2 children. 1900, 4 children. Samuel working steadily, Clara taking in laundry. Clara died in 1903 at 43 from pneumonia. The obituary mentioned nothing of her childhood or Charleston or Margaret. Evelyn found one final document, a 1904 letter from Samuel to Springfield Baptist Church, donating Clara's few possessions. My wife Clara rarely spoke of Charleston, but before she died, she told me about her childhood friend, a white girl named Margaret. They had a portrait together, trying to preserve their friendship before the world tore them apart. She never saw Margaret again, but remembered her fondly. These letters confirmed Clara's life, her resilience, her enduring grief. She built a new life, married, raised children, but never forgot her friend. Evelyn returned to Washington. Now, Amanda and Evelyn had both sides. Margaret forced into a conventional life, secretly keeping Clara's letters, Clara building a new life, but carrying the memory of her lost friend. The painting remained in the attic for decades, capturing a fleeting moment when the two women sat together as equals, trying to preserve something society refused to allow. Amanda used infrared reflectography, seeing more hidden details, the shackles around Clara's wrist. STs were painted with precision, suggesting Wright had studied real chains. Beneath the paint, faint letters appeared. Though the chains are hidden, they remain. 1879. She also found tiny tears in Clara's eyes, originally painted, then covered to make her appear happy. Wright painted truth first, Amanda explained to Evelyn, Clara beside Margaret, shackled and crying, then he painted over it for the version they could keep. It's brilliant and heartbreaking, Evelyn said. Wright gave them the painting they wanted while keeping the hidden reality. They found that Wright moved to Philadelphia, painted until his death in 1891, and had painted many portraits of formerly enslaved people, often hiding harsh truths beneath. Amanda and Evelyn decided to present their findings at an art history and African American history conference. They also sought Clara's descendants. Evelyn contacted genealogists in Augusta. 3 months later, a genealogist called. We found her great-great-granddaughter, Michelle, living in Atlanta, a high school history teacher. Evelyn and Amanda met Michelle showing her the painting and documents. Michelle saw her ancestor and whispered, "That's my great-great-grandmother." She read Clara's letters and learned about the friendship with Margaret, understanding the loss Clara carried for decades. They also located Margaret's descendants. David Whitfield, Margaret's great-great-grandson, met Michelle at the Smithsonian. They discussed the story. Michelle said firmly, "Clara never forgot your ancestor. That friendship was real." Together, they planned the exhibition. It showed the painting with X-rays revealing the hidden shackles, the letters of both women, and the lives they lived afterward. It also included contemporary photos of Michelle teaching, David working, showing the legacy of resilience. The exhibition was titled Hidden Chains, a friendship that survived on canvas, though not in life. Visitors saw the portrait, the X-rays, the letters, and the story of Margaret and Clara. It was one of the Smithsonian's most visited shows. 6 months later, Michelle received a package from Patricia, Clara's youngest daughter, aged 92. Patricia sent a childhood sketch of Clara and Margaret holding hands, dated 1867, 12 years before the formal portrait. This was added to the exhibition, showing that even the youngest generations carried the memory of the friendship. Michelle visited Patricia in Charleston. Patricia cried seeing photographs of descendants, 4 generations she had never met. She whispered, "Mama would be proud. She always said education and growing mattered, never letting anyone make you feel small." The exhibition was extended another year. Students learned about slavery, racism, and enduring friendship. Michelle and David became friends, advocating for truthful teaching of history. Michelle later published Hidden Chains, My Great-Grandmother's Story and the Friendship That Survived, in paint, combining Clara's letters, the painting's history, and her reflections. In the final chapter, Michelle wrote, "History is not just dates and events, it's people, love, loss, survival. Margaret and Clara loved as children before the world said they shouldn't. They tried to preserve that love, but racism was stronger. Clara lost her friend, home, everything. But she survived, built a life, and passed down values to me. The shackles Wright painted weren't just history. They represent chains that still exist. But Clara's resilience survives. It survives in me, my students, everyone who learns her story. Truth survives, even when hidden." The portrait remained at the Smithsonian with the X-rays displayed beside it. Visitors saw the friendship on the surface and the shackles underneath. In Atlanta, Michelle kept Patricia's sketch, showing students two girls holding hands, teaching them about friendship, resistance, and truth across generations.